Well, hello everyone. Hi everyone. It's been a while since we had a coexist episode. I'm Dr. Amigues from UnabridgedMD, and I'm so grateful for everyone here, for the old faces, the new faces. Just thank you so much for being here, because it's really what makes those meetings so special. And also, thank you so much to my incredible friend Tiff Willson. And I'm going to read her bio. And I'm going to tell you how I met her, and then you're going to just see she's incredible. So Tiff Willson is a keynote speaker, technology entrepreneur, investor, and philanthropist. Tiff has founded over 20 businesses, sold 3, and scaled 2 to hundreds of millions of users and revenue. Tiff has been featured in the New York Times, Today.com, WeWork, Creator, Mashable, and more. And today, Tiff says that she's excited to provide business tool and guidance to fellow mission-based entrepreneurs. So there's this, but there's also my own personal story, which is that I started climbing with you, rock climbing with you, and you know how you meet.
Almost a year ago today.
Wow, yeah. It's been a while. Okay, but it feels like it's been much more than that, actually, right?
It really does.
And you know how you meet people and you ask them maybe what they do, what they like, and you know, in climbing, you actually ask a lot, what did you think of that climb? Which is kind of a cool way. But I remember just talking to you, and just as I'm having my own practice now, just thinking, wow, like I feel like I can learn so much from you. And I just knew that you had sold a business. I had no idea what entrepreneur was. I didn't know any of this. And then you were like, yeah, absolutely. I'll be your business. Like, if you want, I'll coach you. So we got like a first meeting, and I was just like, wow, this is so good. I think I got a second one. I was in Corsica in France. And you were like, am I not overwhelming you? I'm like, no, but there's so much I need to do. And the third one is when I actually finally saw your website. And I was just like, holy cow, like you are incredible. I knew you were incredible intuitively. I don't think I knew the PR and all of this. So you are incredible. I'm so glad. I'm starstruck.
No.
You've already helped me improve my business and offer like even better to my patients. So super grateful for that. I wonder if you can tell a little bit about Roomhints, which is the first big business you had, or if you want to tell your story about when you started at 8 or even at 13 years old or 15 years old, do your business, like just so that we understand who you are.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's so nice to meet everyone here and be here. And thank you, Isabel. In that story, when you said, I want you to be my coach, I was kind of taken aback too, because I was like, I've never coached a doctor before. And usually people that I've coached are technology entrepreneurs or real estate entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that have some technology piece to their business. But then working with you, I was like, oh, wow, there are so many parallels between all entrepreneurs. And my story starts, I guess, when I was 8 years old. I had a lemonade stand, and then I started to sell flowers at the lemonade stand too, dandelion bouquets I would sell for $2 with the lemonade. And then we started to sell different things that I could find in my household that I thought would be great to put on another table. And my mom and dad were like, where did the tea towels go? Where did the nutspot go? Where did the vase go? And I was like, you know what, guys, we have an enterprise outside. And if you haven't used it in 6 months, guaranteed I'm going to sell it. And from that, I just loved being an entrepreneur. My mom was very crafty growing up, and she painted Christmas jackets. And she would sell these Christmas jackets at craft shows. And I would see her. The first craft show she did, she came back and she was like counting all her cash. And I was like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you sell your jackets. She was like, perfect, great. So the next show, I negotiated. I was like, I'm going to get 10% of every jacket that I sell. And she was like, great, awesome. The jackets sold were $250 each jacket. And that day I sold about 15 jackets. And as an 8-year-old, that was a lot of money. I came back and counted my cash right in front of my brother. And it was like 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. And I was like hooked. Then at her craft show, at our booth, I would make the logistics of the booth. So people always walk to the right. So we started to notice that when in a craft show, you always want to be your booth on the right. And I started to make Fimo, like those clay buttons that would go on the jackets. And I negotiated with my mom, and earrings, snowflake earrings, that anything that I sold that I had made, I get 100%. And she didn't charge me a booth fee. And then I still get 15%. I negotiated up of all the jackets I sell for her. And she just loved it. She was like, this is so much fun having you here. Do this with me, sure. And that really was like my hook in, like, wow, I can make a lot of money and this is a lot of fun. And from that, I have started many different businesses. A domain holding company. I had a technology business. I sold a ton of stuff on eBay. I worked in real estate, had a real estate business. Had a jewelry business that I then sold that was similar to Etsy. And really my story is that entrepreneurship was in my heart. It was in my soul. And then I'm so thankful to like continue to be an entrepreneur today and do what I love every single day.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. So I want to kind of go. So now we know why you became an entrepreneur. It was in your heart, as you mentioned, and you just love it. And it sounds like you're very successful at everything that you do. And when we're listening, we're like, oh, it's easy. It looks easy.
I mean, it's not always easy. There are many businesses that have failed, and look, at the time it was hard that they failed, but looking back, it was great that they failed, as it always pushed the business into the direction it was meant to go.
Well, so
and
okay.
The other thing, I was actually talking to Seth about this on the way here, as like anything in life, you start a business at this scale, and then I always took bigger bets and bigger bets and bigger bets, to the point where I think in my mid-20s, it was when I was doing real estate, I got too cocky and I took huge bets with these real estate guys in New York, and it totally failed. We all lost a lot of money. We made a lot of people mad because we lost a lot of money for them too. But it was a good like humbling point to be like, okay, get your ego in check, you people. You don't really know exactly what you're doing at this stage. And is this where your best use of skills are?
Yeah.
Are you going in the right direction? And that failure is kind of a redirection into, okay, you're right, let's go in this direction.
Yeah. Well, so, okay. So, most of us are not entrepreneur, or maybe we have, and I think American are very entrepreneur, which is one of the things that I absolutely adore, but the US, but, like, how does it work? So like, what is it like? What do you do? You're just like, you're an entrepreneur. I'm going to start a business, and you're like, how do you decide I'm starting this business? Like, how does that work?
I think there's many different types of entrepreneurs. There's entrepreneurs that will start their own ideas, and some of those ideas are usually based on a problem that they'll have, and are like, hey, I can do this better. Mm-hmm. Or there's the entrepreneurs who will fall upon a great product and are like, hey, this is an awesome product. I want to bring it to market. Like, we were just in South by Southwest, and one of Isabel's friend really loves camel milk and wants to bring camel milk, and she's a doctor, and camel milk has a lot of nutritious value, and she wants to bring camel milk to America. That's another.
I thought this was a joke.
I was like, this is a brilliant idea.
I thought it was a joke, but it is a brilliant idea. I love it.
Like, the alternative sector is a great sector. Like, let's bring camel milk to America. So you can either fall into it. You have this dream, you have a mission, you have a purpose, you want to solve a problem, or you can be an entrepreneur in a big firm that you're sectioned off to build something within that firm, or you notice a problem that they're doing. Amazon's brilliant with this. AWS, which is their web server, was born within that firm, as they realized it was really expensive to host all their web server on other things. Also, they wanted the privacy and owning that proprietary data. So they started building it in the firm.
Mm-hmm.
And then they section off teams to be the entrepreneurs for that. So I think there's many different facets of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like you're an entrepreneur running your own medical practice.
And I love it. Yeah.
And you love it.
Yeah, definitely. I never thought that I would be an entrepreneur ever. And then I'm just loving the creativity piece of it, which I never even knew existed in being an entrepreneur. I want to ask you more about, because when we started thinking about this topic, we were like, one of the really important topic is failure. And we were having this conversation. We had a really long discussion in the car because it was 7 hours of a drive instead of 4.
It was snowing so hard and the roads were so icy.
But it was great, incredible conversation. And we were talking about what prevents people from succeeding. And so we had this I asked you, what do you think failure is? Like, what is failure? And because you said that one of the, what I want you to say it actually, but like, what prevents people from, when they find an idea, and I do think that all of us have actually some sort of entrepreneurial mindset, what stops us from doing it?
Yeah, it's a fear of failure. I think that there's many people that idolize the media idolizes entrepreneurship a lot, especially in America. And entrepreneurship is definitely not for everyone. But those that have an idea, and the idea can even be as simple as starting your own blog or writing a book, that you're an entrepreneur of the book or of the blog. Or these days, our brand is so important, and we're essentially like an entrepreneur of our own brands, our own businesses. We're not going to work at one career for 20 years, so we do have to manage our own brand. So it's simple things like starting your own brand or your own identity and building a blog around that. A lot of people won't do it as they have a fear that it will fail. And this fear of failure is really a detriment to building character. Like failure brings you to extremes. Like if you lose a lot of money or your company doesn't succeed or you fail at a climb or whatever the failure is, it helps you. It's actually can be seen as a positive because it will bring you to these depths of your character that you may not have pushed yourself there without the failure. So if you can look at it as a positive light and not fear it as a detriment from starting that idea, it can actually be very beneficial to help you to learn all these new dimensions of your character.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. And I didn't say that to you, but so my sister is a big entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And my
Berlin.
sister, yeah, she's awesome. And okay, hopefully she doesn't listen to this actually, but because she was not a good student. She was a terrible student. She would always pass everything like right, right at the level of like you pass, and that's it. And my brother and I were pretty good students, so we were like always aiming to be like the first or second or third. And here's my sister like just the middle, right? And I've always thought she is an incredibly successful entrepreneur. She's like free, not you, but like free, really incredible. Yeah. And she's coming from a family where no one is entrepreneur. But I've always thought like the reason why she's able to do this is that she's not afraid of failing because please, hopefully she doesn't listen to this because she has failed so many other times.
Exactly. Failure's good. Fail fast and fail often.
Yeah.
And then it becomes second nature and you're not scared of it. But
so,
also
that's interesting.
People who are really like good at school, good at getting a job, there's pattern recognition there. And they believe, we actually heard this, so that on this talk, that X produces Y. So you study hard, you'll pass your medical exams, you'll get into your best medical school, and there's always a reward for your actions. But in entrepreneurship, there is no X that equals Y or gets you to Y. It's all over the map. And the more you fail, the more resilience that you build.
Yeah.
So the more you're easily just going to be like, I can do that. I can do that. I can take that on. Even if it seems extreme or it seems crazy, you'll just go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So what is failure?
So I actually looked this up today. The dictionary says that failure is lack of success, but I think that's absolute bullshit, because what is success? And like, even success success is arbitrary. Then the other definition was not following the rules, which is also bullshit, because why do we want to follow the rules? And the thing that I think failure is truly is not meeting your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, wait, if you've set your expectations too high, then you're setting yourself up for failure. There's this great there's this wise Chinese farmer story. Do any of you know it?
No.
Basically, there's this Chinese farmer, and he has a horse and a son. And one day the horse runs away, and the neighbors come over, and they're like, oh my gosh, your horse ran away. What are you going to do? This is such bad luck. And the farmer goes, maybe so, maybe not. And the next day the horse comes back and brings 5 other horses with it. And the neighbors run over, and they're like, oh my gosh, what amazing luck. You just got 5 new horses. And the farmer goes, maybe so, maybe not. And the next day the son is on one of these new horses and riding it around, and the son falls. And the neighbors come over and like, oh my gosh, what bad luck. We heard about your son. And the farmer goes, again, maybe so, maybe not. And then the next day,
Kind of annoying. No?
It is kind of annoying, but you'll see where it's going. The army comes in to draft, and the son is not drafted because he got hurt. And the neighbors come over again. They're like, oh my gosh, what great luck. And the farmer goes, maybe so, maybe not. And so you see from this story that the farmer manages expectations. Like, in each of those moments, it could have been like huge success, huge failure, huge success, huge failure. But so you never know really what's good and what is bad. Mm-hmm. And the huge success in making a lot of money could actually turn out to be a negative thing, whereas not making a lot of money could push you into an extreme growth where then you are directed into your right path, or you gain a ton of clarity. Mm-hmm. So failure's been the narrative of failure in the media in our society has been so extreme in a negative way that it doesn't need to be seen as that negative.
I'm going to ask here, has failure, like fear of failure, ever prevented you from doing something? I usually don't have this interactive thing, but why not, right? Like, I'm wondering, because I could tell you, like,
you nodded your head.
Yes, I definitely can relate to that. For myself personally, like, I've had failures where maybe like, I've lost a job or something like that. And when I look back, it actually like was like a blessing in disguise, because I had to work so hard to like reinvent myself. And, and through that experience, I think I'm like much better in what I do. So,
thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah.
And there's also different types of it. Like, there's many times where I'm like, I don't want to go on that climb because I don't want to fail and hit my head, which could happen. But like, calculated risk.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I just want to go a little deeper into this idea of failure, because I think it's really interesting that only one person raised their hand. And I'm pretty sure in France, everyone would have raised their hand. I'm pretty sure in India, even more than everyone would have raised their hand, because there is this idea of like, you're working so hard, you're being a good student. And it is really interesting, like what type of, like, I really do think that there is this creativity piece of the entrepreneur that allows them to be like, I'm going to imagine what my success is. And if it doesn't look like this, I'm going to pivot. And when I hear you talk, and I'm starting to understand a little bit the word of business and the word of entrepreneur, it seems like failure is not failure. Like, you're not considering that failure. You're considering that pivot. Am I understanding this right?
Completely. Yeah. Like, in startup world, it's all about fail fast.
What does that mean?
And fail often. And it means that do little experiments over and over and over. And by doing these experiments, you're building so much data. Like if you're pushing it to the point where it's going to fail, and then if it does fail, you immediately know, okay, it's not that direction. Okay, let's try this second experiment. This is our hypothesis. This is what happened. That failed. It's not that direction. The more and the faster that you can do that, let's say you do 100 experiments over a course of 3 months, 99 of them fail, that one is going to set you up on the right path. And you're going to have all this data from those 99 experiments that didn't work that is extremely valuable data, even though it failed.
I like the fast. I think because there is, and I'm not a psychologist, I don't know all of this, but there is this idea that if you're putting so much energy in one thing, you don't want to lose things. So you are more at risk to stay in that area because you've put so much of you and so much energy. Like, right? So you're not afraid of failure, yet you have to look at things objectively and realize that you need to pivot. Like I'm sure this is an issue for a lot of entrepreneurs that are like, I'm putting so much, like, I'm sure this is going to work. Why has this not worked? Like, of course it's going to work. Like, there's this fine balance, it seems, between being successful and realizing that this is not going to work, but at the same time, I don't know, like, can you talk about that?
There's the point where like your ego, and like I've made this mistakes, lots of people make, your ego gets so trapped into it. You're like, this has to work. I put so much time, and you have to separate that ego from the actual thing. The other thing, like separate your identity from the business. This happens a lot with people as well. We talked about this in the car, but a CEO, it's very rare for someone to be like a Mark Zuckerberg, to start a business and take that business to IPO. And many times the board will say to the CEO, hey, you're not the right person anymore. We're going to bring someone new in to be that person. And the CEO will have such a hard time as they've built this business, they're the founder, CEO, leaving the business, as they'll see it as a failure. And it's really not a failure. It's, hey, you built this amazing business and someone else is going to come in to help make it even bigger. But because their ego is so tied to the business that they've built, and they've built this whole identity around, I am the CEO and founder of this business, that it's that much harder to separate from it. And when they do separate from it, they feel that it is a failure. Like, I built this, I found this, and now I'm no longer working on it. That's a failure, when that is not true at all.
That's really cool. So as you're mentioning this, I can't stop thinking of how grounded you are as a person. And this is not kind of like the visualization that I had of entrepreneur. Like, you imagine entrepreneur like working all of the time and just like having no life. And you definitely have a life, many lives.
Yeah, but that's this stage of my.
Yeah.
So I started, Roomhints was a technology startup that was an app, and we scaled it and sold it. And during that phase, I worked 100-hour weeks for probably 4 years nonstop. And our team, we didn't think we were burnt out. We'd always say, oh, we got tons of energy. Look at us. Like, of course, our egos were in it too. We're unstoppable. As soon as we stopped, when we sold the company and we stopped and took a break, we all crashed so hard. We were so burnt out. And I don't recommend that at all. I think it's mental health is extremely important for entrepreneurs. Everyone should be exercising, everyone going to the gym, like, prioritize time to meditate, prioritize time for yourself, prioritize things that bring you joy apart from your business, as it can be all consuming and it's not the best for us.
Well, so you mentioned meditation.
Yes, meditation's wonderful. I know Rachel meditates. I know Steph meditates, and Kristen.
I meditate.
Who else meditates? Yeah. See?
Oh, yeah. Well, we're in Colorado. Well, so Okay, so now it brings us to the second part of our, or maybe third part, I don't know which part, but another part of this discussion, which is you're very spiritual. And I wonder, like, I want to understand. So as a scientific, and I'm actually really spiritual, but I have a lot of like mind drama in my head of like, yeah, I got some feng shui person coming here. And
But you do your qigong.
I do my qigong.
And you meditate.
And I meditate. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very spiritual. But like, how does that work as an entrepreneur? Is that it grounds you? What like we were talking about how being an entrepreneur can really grow, like help you grow. Like, talk to us about that. Like, because you're an incredible person.
Thank you, Isabel. I feel like you could be my PR.
Yeah, we established that.
Around me all the time, and everyone would just
We
think I'm
established
wonderful. I know, you're so wonderful. But I think that business is spiritual growth. It pushes you in so many directions. You have to put yourself out there in many ways that feel very vulnerable. You are bound to fail in certain ways. You're bound to let people down. You are pushed in different directions that it forces you into these new dimensions where a spiritual practice is a very important practice. Also, just a spiritual understanding or groundedness I've found has been great to my entrepreneurship journey. And that can mean different things for different people. But the thing that's really interesting about business and why it's such a spiritual, like fast track to spirituality or spiritual growth and even personal growth is in my entrepreneurship, I had a lot of success as I was young and then started to take these bigger bets. And I thought I was invincible. And then when things started to fail, I was not invincible. But I had such a strong ego that I believed, oh, I can do this. Like, I've built other things. Like, why isn't this working? Why isn't that working? That I started to force things and over manipulate things because it was just meant to work. It had to work. My ego was so in, it has to work this way. It has to work this way. That the more it failed, the more it was like the greatest blessing, as it started to show me that I have to let there be a natural flow to these businesses. I can't over mentalize it. I can't just be totally in my mind. I have to understand where's the like give and take between what's naturally coming, what's naturally happening, and how can I truly be the executor for this idea, and then this idea to flourish in ways that I will never even imagine it to flourish, and constantly be the guide to take it this way or that way. If that makes sense.
I think it does. It's very cool to see this. I think that the vision that we have of business, at least, I don't know if it's a French vision, but it's really like just imagining someone that's working all of the time, kind of like on their path of like, that's all they are doing, right? And so just seeing that you're taking this time for you to understand what you want as a person and like to check your ego also, right? That I think is so powerful.
There's also a good point of not every idea is for every person.
Yeah.
Like we saw so many and still see like every day there's probably 5 ideas that I could start. And I'm like, this should be better. That should be better. This could be a business, but not every idea is for every person. And for example, we tried to build back in 2016, the job landscape was awful. Hiring online, there's like monster.com and all those outdated ones. And so we're like, we're going to build a job board. And we had this brilliant idea to like have a job board that had all this like fancy technology in it that could automatically screen people and pull all this data that LinkedIn is doing now. And it just constantly, it was a great idea. We had tons of people on board, but over and over, we just got the message, this isn't the idea for us to build. Like, this is not, whereas other ideas like the Roomhints app that we built, we launched it in the App Store. We built the app in 3 weeks, had the idea, built the app in 3 weeks, as you can imagine, an app built in 3 weeks doesn't have much foundation. The app got 30,000 downloads within 2 days. It crashed over and over and over. We had people writing in, this app sucks. Like, I hate this app. Download it. That'd be great. And it's just crashed. Can't even upload my picture. But there was something intuitively there that we knew we were onto something. So it's like looking for the easy paths, the paths like natural path, versus the paths that have like a ton of resistance or a ton of, it's really hard. Like, there was so many signs where I was like, okay, this is the way we're going. This is the way we're going, versus thinking or over analyzing things, or this is the way we'll make the most money. But actually, this is what the startup is telling us we should go for. Don't really understand why it's saying we should go in this direction, but we'll figure it out. We'll go on this journey and we'll learn.
That's so interesting because it's really intuitive and not very scientific.
Yeah, that's the hard part. It's like, wait, this way seems like we could make a lot of money. Why are we not going that way and we're going this way?
But
then as you do follow that, you follow the number. And this is when you're doing something new, you're entering an uncharted territory. So there's no case study from like MBA or Harvard that's like, oh, we've built an app for interior design and got this many users, and this is the business case that you could use. This was back in 2015, where we were the first interior design app in the App Store. So it was uncharted territories that you didn't have much data that you could go behind. And when you're entering these uncharted territories or really developing something so new, you have to listen to that gut. You have to listen to that intuition.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. Is there any like sort of last advice before we do Q&A? Last advice for people who are in this world of entrepreneur as like newbies? Or I don't know, for my kids who want to be entrepreneurs.
For kids, if they want to be entrepreneurs. I mean, I think being a kid is the best time to be an entrepreneur, because if you fail, you can always say, well, I was 8 years old, or I was 12 years old, or I'm 16 years old. I will say entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but if you do have an idea, launch your idea. Like, there's nothing you can lose, and you'll meet a ton of people by pushing it out into the world. Even though it might not be what you envision it to be, it will take you in a direction. And I truly believe that if you're meant to launch an idea, it will never escape you. So it's better to launch it today versus 5 years when it's still lingering in your head, being like, hello, I'm here, launch this. So yeah, put it out there. You never know what will happen to it, or what legs it will take, or where it will fly to.
Right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I'm gonna close the podcast. If people want to see you, they can go to tiffw.com. Yeah. And
check it out.
Tiff is incredible.
Subscribe to my Substack.
What is that?
My writing.
Oh, you're writing. Okay. Yeah. I'm like, wait, hold on. There's something else. I don't know. Also, Tiff is a DJ. You can see her in the Denver area.
DJRedDragon.com.
I love this. I just love it. But thank you so much, everyone. And then see you next week. Bye.